Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. I will try to keep my role in this as, I don't know, kind of a tour guide, maybe a little bit of coaching, and maybe a little bit of moderating. I want to make sure that this is participatory. Okay, if this were a lecture, you'd be in for a short trip to La La Land. I don't want to be boring you for like 60 minutes. So I did prepare some slides, but I really intentionally kept them pretty succinct. I hope that they are just helpful to kind of give us some marks and maybe to basically guide discussion. Okay. If there's something particular that you want to take home from this particular time, this weekend maybe, but specifically now, you want to make sure and have something to take with you. Have that in mind, and if at the end of this time you really don't think you have it, say something, and I'll try to do my best to address that. That's really the real purpose of this leadership rally. So I'm going to begin with some scripture. Okay. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. That's written by St. Paul when he was in prison, reading to a very young or struggling church in the Philippines, our role is to kind of help people, um, look at our mission and to stay focused and to not lose heart and to not let the little things and the little distractions that come along the way, pull us away from that focus. So I really like that. This is a little reflection book on catechism, and the title of this one is A Return to Modesty. So it's kind of saying, keep your mind, where it needs to be. So I really enjoyed that. Just thought I'd kind of offer that to kind of help draw us in a little bit as a warm up. So programs is really the point of this today is to kind of help us flush out a little bit of details about what happens in your programs, to give you a sense of what you do when you help make programs happen in your club, when you dictate what the club members are going to actually experience when they come together. That's important. They may join for lots of different reasons, but what they experience is kind of why they end up staying. Okay, so here's some of the potential reasons, and I'll give you, I'll give you a sense of how things, when you are connecting, when you're helping your members to connect, that's an incredibly important role of the program, helping them connect to the mission, helping them connect with each other, connect with their own selves in a deeper way. That when you're providing quality programs, this is kind of what's flourishing at. That when you engage, when you help people be engaged with the mission, that's also a main function of what programs can help do. That really, if you're able to do these things, that what you're doing is you're flourishing clubs, you're promoting clubs that really have members that are excited and they're going to want to stay members. That's really why I love being VP for programs, because really we're kind of a close cousin of what the membership committee does, and that is help make sure that our clubs are overflowing with people who are really on fire with vocations. This is part of what programs does, is that make sure that those people are still loving what they do, and they continue to do it. So that's some of the bigger picture stuff. Helping them connect with the bigger thing too, right? On your tables, now there may not be enough copies for everybody, but on your tables there are some summaries that was provided by Ann Martin. Can you wave your hand again? If you haven't met Ann, please do so. She's a wonderful lady that you want to be able to meet. She's the VP for programs for Serra International, came all the way from Melbourne, Australia. So you gotta give her a hand for that. But Tony Mangione and Larkin, they reach out to the councils to get some information about what's happening in the councils, and they kind of help distribute that, right? So we can all learn from one another. You have to be connected. That's that sort of bigger view. So anyway, that's a large picture of what I'm going to be talking about. And if at any time you want to interrupt and interject, please do so. So there's lots of different reasons, probably as many reasons for joining Serra as there are in this room. But some of these are some of the, I guess, most common ones that came to my mind. They vary from the profound things like, I feel like if I don't do something, that the faith that I cherish just won't be available to the people that are coming after me. There can also be reasons like, well, I know that my best friend goes to the, is a member of the club, or I know that the boys are going to serve food, these kind of fiddly things, right? But it's all good. It's all good. Joining the club, it can be varied. A lot of times you really don't know what you're in for when you join the club. So, helping to flush out a little bit of that is a really important function. When you come together, you need to get to know each other, and that's one of the first things you should know about a person. So why did you decide to come? Ask that question to them, why are you here? And you're a member, you're the newest member, introduce yourself and find out, so what did you have in mind when you joined the club? Maybe look at that last time. Maybe they want to understand a little bit more about their faith. Maybe they want to understand what vocations is, and if it means anything to them. If it's just about priests and sisters, well, what does it matter to me, right? So those are some of the things. Staying in Serra, well, that's a whole other kind of a thing, right? They can just say, well, I was. I feel like I'm being challenged. I feel like there's so much more to learn. So I do enjoy coming to Serra meetings and being a member of the club because I seem to be learning things. Quality programs can provide that opportunity to learn something, to be informed and inspired. Programs that represent church's teachings tend to do that. And speakers who are kind of an authority on a subject, obviously, that can inspire them to try to learn more about it. To maybe, if it's a representative of the church, to maybe help them grow a little bit more in their faith. And number two, they see the value of being a member, help them connect with other people that are kind of like-minded, that are also Catholic. That helps them engage in the mission. And right there is the mission statement that we need to all become so familiar with that it's on the tip of our tongues, to foster and affirm vocations for the priesthood, religious and vowed religious life, and through this ministry grow in our Catholic faith. I love that the theme of connecting, and I'm going to bring this up many times here today, this afternoon. And it was reminded me how important it was when Father Paul Hosting was mentioning yesterday, and it was brought up this morning again, I think, by Bishop Daly. But, loneliness, isolation, that's just a pervasive experience in our society today. So you really want to be sensitive to when you reach out to people. I would say, especially when you reach out to certain generations of people, but certainly, it's a common experience. People feel a lot of isolation for a lot of reasons. But, one way that we can kind of help with this is to, help them connect with one, and actually help listen to where they are at. Father Paul mentioned that, in terms of forming priests, that it's a really important element of their formation, is to help them sort of feel this way of connecting with one another. So they have to detox them, he called it. So because the plague in this kind of frame is saying, well, they've been, bred with this technology as a part of their limb. You can't take it off of them. So it's just with them. So they have to kind of detox by helping them have a little bit of silence in their life, helping them increase their comfort with being alone. Also, maybe slowing down. That's a really important thing in life. I have a reflection book. I don't subscribe to this, but this was given to me by my brother, called Give Us This Day. And when we were back in the liturgical calendar, getting ready for Lent, Advent, basically we were saying goodbye to the former liturgical year at the very end of that liturgical year. So Joan Chittister, that rings a bell to any of you here. It's a very prolific writer. She's a Benedictine Benedictine, and she says that life is not meant to be escaped. This is what it means to go deep. We learn as the liturgical year moves from season to season, from feast to feast, it is meant to be penetrated. Life is meant to be penetrated, to be plumbed to its depths, to be tasted and savored, and bring us to realize that the God who created us is with us yet. Life, we come eventually to know, is an exercise in transformation, the mechanics of which take a lifetime of practice, patience, of slow growth. Clearly, then, learning to wait is an essential dimension of spiritual development. It has its own values, bringing its own character to the process of becoming spiritually mature. Waiting hones our insights. It gives us the time and space, the perspective and patience that enables us to discriminate between the good, the better, and the best. It is so simple to go through life blind to the wealth of all its parts, swallowing life as a whole, oblivious to its punctuation points. Then we fail to call ourselves to the small daily demands of compassion or choice, trust or effort. If we do not learn to wait, we can allow ourselves to assume that one thing really is as good for us as another. Then we forget that life is about more than this life. We race over the top of it, satiating ourselves with the obvious, unmindful of its depths. Oh, that's obvious. Go to the next thing. That's obvious. We become stale of soul. We fail to grow spiritually. That's what is the star you are following now, Sister Calvin? And where is that star in its present radiance in your life leading you? Is it a place that is really comprehensive enough to equal the breadth of the human soul? Okay, so that means that's what it means to be going deep. So it's an amazing thing to do, and slowing down the prayerful, the meditation, the encouraging members, giving them the opportunity to pray and to be silent. If you're organizing a holy hour, give time for it to be actually silent. Okay, connection and engagement. So our programs really do help and should help members connect to the mission of Serra. How is growing in holiness incorporated in every one of your club meetings? How do you pray together? What part does fellowship play in your club's gatherings? How relevant are the topics which are discussed? What I really liked about this morning is that, the question and answer period was extremely relevant. There was people bringing up, oh yeah, this is what's happening. What's your experience with this? This is what's been happening with you. The bishop question to Bishop Daly. I wasn't really as familiar with that as many of you are. Being real. That's one of the key elements of judging the effectiveness of a program with a speaker is what are the questions that come up? How much discussion actually is there after the actual formal presentation, right? Are there a lot of questions? Do people stick around afterwards, and want to ask one-on-one questions, So that kind of tells you, well, we want to ask that speaker to come back. They were wanting more, And that last point, are your members being challenged to take action? Teresa of Calcutta, which was brought up, I believe it was Father Paul. The fruit of silence is prayer. The fruit of prayer is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. The fruit of service is peace. So these are some of the elements of a quality program. There's some element of accounting for people's prayer life. It's the silence, the one-on-one prayer is always balanced with an awareness of others also being in that same mindset with you. That's really why we come together. When we were doing stuff during the pandemic, we might have been able to pray at the same time, but it was a different feeling because we were kind of in our homes, maybe wearing our robes or something. So we had celebrated Mass, but it just felt different. It's really so much nicer when you're in that same room, engaged in the same process. You're looking across the aisle to somebody. You're up the aisle with communion together. Those things are significant. So experiencing it together. So it's a community. That's part of what it means to come together in prayer and be the church. Inspiration, there should be an element of inspiration that can come in lots of forms, but certainly how devoted your prayer time is one of those sources of inspiration. Our club spends some time preparing the music because we can actually celebrate Mass. Not all clubs can do that, but we have some talented people that are willing to do that. So, using one element that's come up a lot, and I really saw it, especially when we were recognizing the upcoming officers, and keep pointing out that this is, it's really amazing that this person stepped in, or Mike Downing was saying that this person stepped into this role and so passionate about it. It's really true. So when individuals and what they're really passionate about, if you can make sure that they're engaged with that, it's really a great thing. I think it's more of a comment for kind of club presidents, perhaps, but you know what I mean. When you feel really that you love something that is close to you, that you're really willing to pour yourself into it. So having good programs. What does some people really care about? If you have a group of people that are trying to hash out ideas about programs, well, what do they really love? What do they care about? And just see if they can say, well, let's make sure then use that to kind of help steer the club closer to the mission. The information obviously is a significant part of your meeting. Maybe they really don't know a lot about different subjects, so that's why you bring a speaker, because they know a lot more about it. And basically some element maybe of action. If it's a vocations talk, well, what's the element of action? Maybe it is to reflect on their own, vocation. Where are they themselves in their own journey, right? Our unity, when we're asking people to take action, it is so important to have in mind some of these key things. When we have unity, we have the strength to tackle challenges. That's an important thing. It comes from that unity, and that unity is actually rooted in prayer. I could have quoted Pope Francis. I could have quoted Pope Leo. They're really significantly underlying the importance of unity because we have a very fractured society. Mentorship is an incredibly powerful tool when it comes to members, and I really want to encourage clubs to use that. A new person comes in, make sure that person is assigned a mentor, that they come in and they're encouraged to kind of continue to be with them, call them up, make sure that they know where at the next meeting, that every effort is made that they make it to the next meeting. Those kinds of things are important. I mean, most members leave clubs within the first year or two or 3 years. So it's really important to keep them engaged and try to do it as early as you can. The mentorship element or component is a really great tool for that. Another thing that happens when we come together, we're saying that this is what I want, this is a challenge, what I want, and we're admitting it openly to help ask for accountability to get to that point. See how that works? If something is difficult, if it's going to change you, you're going to ask to be held accountable. I work in rehab, not the formal rehab program, but I'm a therapist, helping people in the acute level. And I tell you, it's really easy to say, go through the motions and just, hope that it gets better. But if you really are engaged, if you're really working and forcing, you see the sweat coming down, you know that they're serious about it. So help each other stay accountable. If you're doing something that's challenging, you have to have people around you to help you stay accountable. Every culture will tell you that. Control that will tell you that. Engagement. So that's really the bottom line when it comes to this retention of members, is to help keep them engaged. Individual invitation is an incredibly important thing. That's how people, respond when they're invited individually. That kind of means, I know what they love, and I'm going to invite them to help with this because I think they would really do a great job with it. I see those elements in you that would really help. Do they have know your members? Um, how can a member who has certain strengths help with the needs that are in your club? Again, this is a little bit of a step. Some of the things that club presidents think a lot about. You should be sensitive to and communicate with the board about, how our members, are they engaged? Are they interested in what's going on? How can we keep them interested in what's going on? How can we keep them active and challenge them? So, they have to be asked, they have to be known. So get to know people when they come to the group, to the program. Part of the program is the fellowship. So are people in little groups like clusters or cliques, or do they kind of try to mix up, and do some of the members, especially the officers, make a point of sitting in different places or getting to know different people? If you have, say a significant number of people come to a club meeting and some of them don't know each other. I've heard stories about clubs that begin by every meeting by people standing up and introducing themselves, and everybody got to know each other really, really quick, easily that way. One thing that to keep people engaged, one thing that I've seen, it's a really simple thing, a simple idea, but having a spreadsheet, laying it all out. So on one column you have all of your club members, and then you have a series of columns that just describes every activity that your club does across the whole top, and you just have check marks across the whole thing. And throughout the whole thing, you look at it and say, "Oh gosh, this person sure is involved a lot. Oh, look at that! I sure believe how many things that person's doing. Oh boy, look at that! There's like 3 people that are doing absolutely nothing. That's a red flag. That is a recipe for them halfway out the door. Now they may be writing that check, and you may be more than happy to take that check, but sooner or later they may ask the question, "What's this for? Why am I doing it?" All right. Now, if you call them up and say, "Why are you doing this?" They may say, "Well, I support my patients, and I know that Serra Club's a good club, and I support you also. I'm writing the check." Okay. I tend to like to jump into a pool and submerge myself. Maybe there's some people that want to dip their toes in. I don't know, but at least they need to be asked. That's kind of the point. Ask them. If they are not asked, you don't know. And if they've never been asked, they don't know, they're not engaged, they are about halfway out the door. So you really need to be sensitive to that. Again, that's probably a comment more for sort of president, but everybody needs to be. Everybody needs to know each other in the class. Everybody's responsibility. I already mentioned mentorship. Keeping no members involved. Kurt Medico. Don Simino said that, overall, like 3 years, a lot of these members, we can't. So here we go. So the contest period, July 3rd, that year to July 30th of this past year, June 30th of this past year, a record number of 151 clubs registered complete. We gained 832 members. Close. The net gain was 130.
Oh.
Ouch. What does that mean? That means we need to work on retention. Thank you very much.
That or luck.
Don't forget. Oh, that's great.
Well, you can't.
Retention of members. So here we go. So most members stay the club with the first 2 or 3 years unless they are engaged. Mentorship is an effective method of contracting. Already mentioned this point. Health reasons for living. Okay, so here we go. We're laying that out there. There are health reasons for people leaving. Well, that's no surprise. What's the role of the club if somebody leaves for health reasons? Sorry about your luck. Hasta la vista. You'll never see us again. Is that what a hospitality, a warm club is all about? Absolutely not. Don't ever let that happen to your club. If you ever hear somebody leaving your club, somebody should be following up. Hopefully the whole group. If at least passing a card around amongst the members and having them sign the card and say, "Hey, you're feeling better." I mean, that takes nothing, but it's an important gesture. It's about relationship. Understanding, supportive, help them stay connected. They've made friends when they were part of the club. I would hope. Help them stay connected. These friends of mine, dear friend, she was an education teacher. All of her life, probably 35, 40 years or so, she was an elementary school teacher, or frail old lady now, and she's in assisted living. She can't come to the meetings. Somebody made a point of bringing her to our Christmas celebration. I hugged her. I was really thankful. And I was just so overjoyed to see her. Janet Lehman. She actually was the teacher for our current chaplain. That's how far back she goes. In elementary school. So, make them feel welcome. Reach out to them. Keep them engaged. One thing I want to do is see if they can actually participate in the traveling chalice. They may not be able to come to church to actually receive the chalice, but somebody can take it to them. Keep people informed. Pray for their health, whatever that health reason might be. You know, so vocations and what we do, it's about relationship. That's kind of the common ground there. Priests, deacons, religious, we're all engaged in ministry. They're engaged in ministry to build the church, the body of Christ, to reach out to people, to meet them, and to help them experience the love of God. We're engaged in the mission as Serrans, and we build up each other. We try to hold each other accountable. We help people be connected to one another, to what Serra is all about, to the mission of Serra, and also connected to things that are kind of beyond themselves. Everybody's got this comfort zone, and part of that is, I go to my parish and maybe even sit in the same pew, all those things. But there's a bigger view. Every once in a while, somebody comes from outside the parish, like a new pastor, or associate pastor. Well, our associate pastor is a missionary who grew up in Haiti. He speaks Creole. He spent 1 month in Lima, Ohio, to kind of get acquainted with the possibility of spending more time in America. This is his first month in America at the time. It was August of 2024. And lo and behold, 8 months later, he's getting a visa. He's trying to come to this country. He was a missionary in an order from France, and now he's actually an associate pastor of our parish because of that 1 month that he spent in our parish, being exposed to the warmth, the climate of the city itself, all those things. And now every Sunday we have a Creole Mass at 3 o'clock. I'm not tooting my own horn, but I actually am the sacristan for that Mass. And you know what? It connects to me. I do a lot of music ministry, and on a real basic level, I know exactly where they are emotionally at every moment of that Mass. I can't understand a word they're saying, but I know exactly where they're at. When they are doing the prayer, the universal prayer, the prayers of the faithful, and they're pausing after each one and singing a response, not Lord, we pray to the Lord hear our prayer. It's not that. If they're praying something, they're singing something, it's a prayer like this, begging God. It's just a beautiful thing. And when they're singing the Gloria and the Holy, Holy, oh my Lord, so I'm fighting off tears a lot of times during this whole Mass. The intellectual stuff can wait. But just being able to connect and appreciate what they offer. And it's such an honest, it was said earlier today, I forget who said it, language. Our prayer starts at a really fundamental language. Oh, Jesse said it, that our most honest and earnest prayers in our own native language. There are many dimensions of Serra. I mentioned all the different layers of it. The club is only the first layer of it. When you connect the different layers, you really have a broader sense. And it's such an important element when you're having a vision of something that maybe can grow a little bit more, something that hasn't ever been tried before. You need to stretch it a little bit. And some of that means, our club has always done things that has relied on its own members. Well, maybe we can stretch that a little bit. Maybe we can reach out to, say, the Knights of Columbus, or maybe we can look at the club that is, maybe 50 miles away and see if they can kind of help us out. So it's that sense. And in our diocese, there happens to be 3 Serra clubs. We all have the same idea that we're trying to serve the church, trying to serve the vocations work of the church in our diocese. So, we try to make sure that the vocations director knows that. And whatever they're asking, that we're doing it. If we can do it all together, we're a lot more powerful and effective. Regionally, same idea. Come together every once in a while for these kinds of events. You get a sense of encouragement, just seeing one another. Oh, wow. You're doing this stuff just a state away. I didn't know that. I got to receive awards on behalf of the club about 40 minutes away from where I live today. I pulled that poster, it was posing in front of everybody, and I'm so proud to do that. I'm looking forward to going down there and surprising them with this award. I don't think they know that they were winning the silver award for a good club. The council level, there's amazing things that we're experiencing some of that right here in this country right now. The leaders across this country is great. And in that summary sheet you have on your page, your tables there, there's a summary of all of the different councils, many of the different councils. Okay? I should mention that Serra Connects is a newsletter that comes out. What is it? Every other month? How often is that?
Quarterly.
Quarterly. Thank you. So it's like 4 times a year, and it goes up to a lot of people. So in my filtering, in my own sort of email, it actually gets channeled over towards like the maybe sort of the junk mail. So I have to kind of be paying attention to that. You can always pull it up on the Serra International website though, but I would really look for that and just ask yourself, what am I most curious about right now, and look for it. You're going to find a club in a country that you'll be surprised at what they do. Some of the things that ring true for you, some of the elements that they're trying that you have also struggled with. It's just really a great way of kind of opening your eyes and your just the way that you're just looking at things. That's my dad would always say, travel broadens the mind. He grew up in Manhattan, and he had a lot of cultures represented there. Members connecting to something bigger than the club level. We had the bigger view. That's really what leaders do. They take the bigger view, right? And that's something that's important. Narrowness leads to, well, we got to get just more people to come to this meeting, and I don't really care how irrelevant the subject is. We're going to get an expert and just bring him in so we can get those new members because this is such a dynamic person to speak. You have to be careful how you compromise like that. Look at the broader view, like, well, here it is, May, and over since September, this is kind of what our programs have been like. Making a kind of sifting through that a little bit. Was it a successful year? Did we succeed in helping members really understand a little bit more about their faith? Shed some light on some topics that they really haven't been exposed to before. All those things are great, and if you have something that kind of sticks out, it's like, well, maybe that could have been done better. But you know what? Overall, we did great. That's a successful year. Expansion of how you think. It's really a great thing to help them connect in something bigger than the club level, and to be encouraged about what you do. A good start, if you're trying to think about something bigger than the club level, is to talk to your district governor. Find out what the district is already doing. Maybe helping to serve the diocese, or maybe plant the seed. Hey, let's try this. Right now, we have some traveling crucifixes, like I think 3 of them in the whole diocese of Toledo, and they're going to different parishes, throughout the year. Like a parish may have it for a month or something like that. So, it's really great. Learn what the schedule is like. Hey, when is it coming in our neck of the woods? The encouragement we all feel by coming to a rally, it's available for all the members when they have the opportunity to connect with other clubs. Is what they're doing. What's the best event that the club next door does a year? Make sure some of your members go to. So this is really where it gets a little bit more interesting than hearing to me blabber blabber. This is what you can think about. What are your club currently doing that is uncharted? Here's some other questions. It's really a great opportunity to kind of hear one another. It may be best to, because these tables are so conveniently arranged, you can kind of turn to the people at your table and have a discussion about any one or more of these subjects. And if you want to share it with a larger group, we'll give you a chance to do that. I'm looking at the clock, and we can give this like at least 3 or 4 minutes. Even more. Go ahead and do that.
Okay, I'm from Kansas City. We're one of those clubs that walk on water.
You see, we have some other Kansas City folks here, so let's get on it too much. But I was saying that one of the nice things that we do is adopt our seminarians. I've got our little poster here of our little seminarians. I brought our guys with us. And so each club member, so as far as the involvement, that's one of the things that we do is get them involved. And then we write letters or send birthday cards and kind of have a relationship. But in addition to that, with the other clubs in our area, we have some joint things where the seminarians get to, and we get to see these guys face to face, meet their families. There's like a family picnic that's hosted once a year. We have a Christmas benefit dinner, for them all and their families. And so it's real fun to get to see these guys face to face and meet them, and that really helps. One of the other things our club does is that we send the anniversary of their ordinations and birthday cards to all of the priests in our diocese, retired, existing priests, and then birthday cards for our seminarians too. So someone in our club, that's one of their assigned tasks, is to get those all addressed, and they bring them to the club meetings, and then we pass those all around our club meetings that do begin with mass, and then we have a little refreshment and social time, and then our little business meeting type and program. Sometimes a guest speaker, sometimes just kind of the topic of the day. So our last meeting was getting out our fundraiser. So we're doing the money raffle tickets. So kind of promoting that and explaining to people what's going on there.
Thanks very much. Sounds like a lot of engagement for that. Sounds wonderful.
So just a quick question. How many people attend the Mass, and do you struggle getting, or I don't know if you have multiple parishes?
Yeah.
Okay, do you move the Mass around and the meetings around?
Unfortunately, I say it's unfortunate because we cover a wide area. I don't know how many different parishes are in our club. Do you guys have this?
You got 18 parishes in your
Parishes in our club.
underground.
Yeah, so we're southeast Kansas City. And so I would say those that actually attend are from probably 3 of those 18, and even membership. I mean, there's some parishes that are huge, and we might have 1 or 2 actual members to our club from those.
Yeah, we have 22 parishes in our club.
Okay.
And we're North Houston. So we have about, I don't know, 6 or 7 clubs in the Houston Gallatin Archdiocese, but we're North Houston. We have 22 parishes. Probably 90% or maybe a little less than that of our members are from one parish.
Right.
And most of the rest are from the fairly close surrounding parishes.
Right.
There are geographically spread out quite a lot, even on the northeastern part. Probably from one end to the other is an hour, or more. But so we do have difficulty getting people outside of those couple of main parishes involved at all. Well, how many? I was wondering if you have a mass that's for the Serrans before the meeting, or is it just a regularly scheduled mass?
Parish mass.
Okay, it's a regularly scheduled mass because
But it is specifically on our meeting day.
Yeah. Okay, because I was wondering about that. We do things like we've had a memorial mass every year, and the last couple of years we combined it with Sarah's nights, Catholic elders, and 55 plus group, because a couple of us were trying to have one, and nobody had enough people and attendees. So we had one of those, and the priest told us he's not going to have one of those again because we don't have enough people, even at the 4 groups that attend that mass. So we're struggling with things like that. So I was kind of curious about how that mass worked, whether it was a special mass for your group, but
It's
no.
parish mass. It's a very devoted parish, but we're small. We're not a huge group.
I've had some extremely great conversations, generous people doing generous things. I love it.
Yeah.
Any members, yes, now great.
New members. Does anybody have in their back pocket some great ideas for that? If Candace was here, she would say you have a parish drive. Ask the pastor. Do something else from the pulpit. Emphasize. Each parish having an opportunity to be exposed to what Serra's about. It seems to be really successful, and we've had some success with that. Whatever works in your area that you've had success with in the past, I'm not the authority on that, so I can't tell you. I'm not up here with the microphone because I have recruited a lot of members for our club. Go ahead, Chuck.
Just in response to that, it does seem from experience, and you found all that agree with that, that most of the members come because they were individually asked and invited, right?
Right.
And that's probably the key. Now, the thing that blows my mind, in fact, I just had this conversation at lunch with some of our local people. It's like, all right, who do you know that might make a good member? You know, because if you ask that to every member, who do you know? And then all of a sudden they go blank. You know, it's like, think. Who do you know? Well, come up with a couple names. I've had asked that prominent members, and it's like, I don't know anyone. Come on, you know. So you are the to do that. I think that's probably the best thing. So I challenge us all, self included, right? When we get back, think each of us and challenge our fellow members. Who should I invite to bring to the meeting next week? And we did before COVID, as we hold one of these meetings. Someone said, "Look, think about this, prepare a list from the club, and then do a novena." And we did a prayer novena, okay? And then invite those people that we've done the novena and had like a special meeting, you know, with the non-members. We had a good speaker and so forth. It was in the evening, we had some wine and so forth. And, you know, then COVID I kind of really took the steam out of that. We haven't got back to that momentum. But anyways, I think we all really know the secret. We need to invite it one.
Thank you very much, Chuck. The intentionality of that, I really like a lot. You know, it doesn't just happen by accident. You know, it's kind of a design. You got together, you thought about it. Well, if this were to happen, this is how it may be where it will bear most fruit. Having some people that invite a friend. Our club's strength really is we have interesting speakers that come in. You know, and people in our area really don't hear who are Catholic, maybe not hear many speakers like that. So we find the one or two meetings a year that stand out. You know what? This is going to be a great meeting. Let's invite everybody we can to that meeting. You know, let's put our best foot forward.
While I've been here, I had an idea just based on what you said and actually what you just said, because we have an older population in our group. So when you ask them to bring somebody, what's the first thing they say? Bring a friend. Guess what? Their friends are old too.
Yeah.
You know, so we're not mistaken. You can do it for this time. Hey, instead of asking your friends, ask your kids, your children, or ask your grandchildren, because some of our guys, if they're in their late 80s, 90s, their grandkids are probably in their 30s. You know, so if we could bring a grandchild with it or two to the meeting and get them going versus a friend, because the friends seem to be in our own age. You know, that's my idea.
It was been brought up before, joy, how important that is, the priesthood, to be a joyful witness. Really, you're a joyful witness in everything you do. We all are living our vocation. Your joyful witness is being a married person. Your joyful witness is being a generous single person. You want to be doing those things in a public way and being proud of that. And, I guess show integrity about that. That's kind of what I glean from all this business about our society and how fragmented it is. It's that people are starving for that. They have very precious little of it. So when they see it, it stands out to them, and they're drawn to that. So it's a beautiful thing. If it wasn't for spending time in prayer, I don't know where I'd be. So, point is, people are drawn to what is, lighting the fire in your life. You make sure that when you're engaged with Serra, that you're representing it well. This is great work we do. It's significant work we do. The church needs this work. And we really want to make sure and not be ashamed of that. That was the first comment that Don said, that, humility is great. But when it comes to, your club and the benefit of your club, you really want to show that sucker off. So here's some, I want you to make sure to be aware of resources. There's two of the three things. The one thing I did not list there was this book that I'm playing right now, but it has been referenced several times this week. But number one, scriptures. You need to really know your scriptures. Attend a Bible course if you really are not comfortable with that subject. It's a really first step for every Catholic, in my opinion. They should, and actually everybody benefits from attending a group that studies scriptures on a regular basis, maybe every week or every other week. The Catholic Catechism, I definitely feel like since John Paul II, pontificate, we have a lot of great resources at our disposal. It's a great resource. I would use that. The one method that I use, there's a thicker version, there's a little smaller version, and there's one version that's actually small that's in question answer format. I would recommend that one. It's just it's a little bit easier to read that because it gives you straightforward answers to the questions that you may be thinking. One thing that I do also is use Laudate on my app on my phone, and one of the things that it offers is the catechism. So you can actually pull up the catechism on Laudate, and then it gives you this nifty, option, these functions. One of them is search. So you just type in some words there, and it'll tell you all the references in the catechism of that word. And really, it makes it very simplified. This is a great resource, as I mentioned many times. And I think referenced, there was a reference to the life of Gino Serra. One great way to do that is to pray the novena, which is listed in here. It's the first novena. Let me pull it quick. Yeah.
Does it end on July 1st?
Well, it's not. It can be. Yeah, it should be. Okay, so it should end on a significant. Every novena is 9 days. 9th or 10th day should be that significant day. It's kind of timed that way, but it gives you all the prayers of it. Okay, novena. It's on page 79 in this book, but it's really great. That's a great way to get to know the life of Junipero Serra. There's other kind of resources that are not just in the text form, say, but sort of the technology. One thing that you should be aware of is that YouTube is a great resource today. You can subscribe to the Serra International YouTube channel. What that means is that every time Serra International posts something, you get a notification about that, at least if you allow it to give you notifications. It's a decent way to go. You can get a lot of great tools. You can use some of these tools in your club meetings. If you attend a Serra Meets program, you'll also get some ideas about that. They do condense those Serra Meets to a little bit more manageable, like say between 20, maybe 35 minutes in length. So that would be another resource you could use at any kind of a meeting. There's something that is very controversial right when Gino walks in. It's called magisterium.com. So when you have the potential to use a lot of power, you have to be very select how you use it. That's responsible use of power. And I'm telling you that these cell phones have an incredible amount of power. Okay? And being careful how you use it is a really important thing. And it was pointed out to me that when it comes to AI, I wanted to go into more depth about it, but probably not the best time. But, harnessing the things at our disposal for the good is our responsibility. That's why we are here, where we are, that's our responsibility. There's a lot of potential for misuse of stuff, and technology is one of them. So it is neutral. It is neutral. AI is neutral, but in the right hands, it can be used for a lot of great good. Amazingly great good. And it is our responsibility to do that. So what I'm basically pointing out is that this is a search engine that can be used, and it can really guide you in the right direction. Now, it is not a substitute for doing your homework. So I would strongly encourage you to go to the source. That is the important thing to always remember when it comes to these kinds of things that give you all kinds of power. Go to the source, spend some time with it. Do your homework, think about it, pray about it, and then find out what this is kind of summarized. And it'll give you a nice synopsis of it. And then kind of think about, is this really what I understand it to be? So you're kind of discerning and you're filtering through that. I found it to be remarkably good. I really have. I've used it many times. I found it to be remarkably good. It is a very powerful search engine. I'm just pointing that out there. You can scrutinize a lot, and we should. And it's not a substitute for doing homework. I'll leave it at that. So what are your favorites? All right, this is open discussion. Any feedback? The future meetings, February, June, October, the second Monday of the month is when they have these meetings of the different parts of Serra. So the programs meetings will be February 8th will be the next one, February 9th, excuse me, the second Monday of June, the second Monday of October. Please look out for those. You should get a notice in your email about it. Currently, that's the structure of the way we do these online meetings. I'll take requests about any particular subjects. And that's my email address. I have some business cards too if you're interested in that. Thank you very much.